Hi there, this is Sahid with the Bloom Show. Sorry, I have a little technical difficulty here. This is Sahid with the Bloom Show. Thank you for joining us today. Super excited to have you as always. The Bloom Show's intention, one, it's brought to you by New Bloom Solutions and Above All Flowers. And the intention of the Bloom Show is to help innovate, connect, and bloom the flower industry. Is to bring together a community of flower industry experts to talk about hot topics, to answer questions as well, and to truly share their knowledge. Today, I'm speaking to someone that's really important to me in the sense that he was an inspiration for what we did on the Bloom Show. And that's John. I don't want to butcher your last name, John. I'm sorry. Elstgeest, but he will correct me. Spanish is my first language, but not Dutch or where that comes from. But John has been an inspiration to many of us. John, if you don't know his story from the Flower Circus, he's done many things other than doing a show right when COVID hit. That show hit, and many people use his show as a source of information, as a source of connection, and that inspired many of us. I was doing a show on Instagram, then I started doing shows on YouTube. It inspired many of us to do the same and continue doing the same. So I'm very excited to have him on to talk about his journey, to get to know him, as he's always interviewed hundreds of people. Now we get to interview him, get to pick his brain a little bit, and hopefully see a couple flower circuit, flower tricks, or a couple of tricks. Maybe not. Maybe we're not prepared. I have a trick up my sleeve, so I'll be showing that to John myself. He'll be impressed of my magic trick, and that's really it. I do want to announce that we are doing an amazing collaboration with Cal Flowers Fun in the Sun. It's going to be awesome. It's a true production of the entire Bloom Show with Willie Armelini from Flowers and Scents. It starts August 29th from 8 to 9, and then August 30th at 12:45 is one episode, and then August 30th from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. So it is, Pacific Standard Time. Super late, but that's why we're calling it the Late Night Flower Count Show, in collaboration with Blue Monday, Flowers and Scents, and Cal Flowers, and sponsored by Floral Transfer Distributors and Armelini. So thank you again to the sponsors, and please tune in. It's going to be live at the party on the sand with the music, with the sounds. So it's going to be really awesome. So enough of the introduction. Let me introduce and welcome Mr. John from Flower Circus. John, how's it going?
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me into your great show. I mean, watching it all the time, and glad to be a part of it now.
It was bound to happen. I've been invited to your show twice already, so thank you for that. One time I was at SAF, and the other time was just on vacation. I remember, and people call it the car karaoke day. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember. You were in the car.
I was in the car. People were making Willie Armelini. I was like, "What is this? Car karaoke? What's up with this?" So John, I am pretty sure I butchered your last name, and I'm so sorry. My name's Saeed Nahim, so it's always been butchered. But can you please introduce yourself? I guess better than I do.
The easy part is John. The difficult part is Elstgeest. That's the family name, and it has like the Dutch people pronounce it. So that's why it's very difficult.
Yeah, it is a little difficult to pronounce and read, but thank you for clarifying that. So John, tell us about you. Tell us about where, introduce yourself a little bit. Where do you come from? I love to hear about people's backgrounds and how they walked into the flower industry. So tell me about your background and who is John, Flower Circus top hat guy?
Yeah. So born actually in a small town between the two big flower areas in Holland. Naaldwijk and Aalsmeer. Started working at my uncle's nursery when I was 12 years old, just picking weeds and doing those kind of things, cutting flowers at a later part, and then summer flowers. So I had a lot of fun there, but I never expected to end up in the flower industry. But as it grew and worked at another uncle as well in a flower shop when I was still young. And I saw the excitement in people's eyes when they received flowers. They were like, wow. And that ever since still chases me. If you give away flowers, the reaction of the people. And I thought, I want to do this. I want to make people happy. And fast forward, that's why Flower Circus is also about emotions, making people happy. So yeah, studied in flowers. Started working on the auction as a buyer, but soon already realized that's something I didn't really want to do. But it was a good school. I mean, you learn so much and learn about the industry, meeting growers, meeting other people. So that was really cool. It was still, it was not online yet, so you were still in the same dealing room together. Moved to a company, was selling flower bulbs. Was selling flower bulbs in Sweden and Australia.
Wow.
So that's where I started traveling. And then you notice that there's a lot of lack of info. Everybody has his part of information, but we don't give it to each other. The flower chain is quite long, especially when we talk about Holland, with the auction in between, export company, all those kind of things. And a lot of information gets lost along the way. And that's what I noticed in different jobs as well. Did some work for a supermarket, UK supermarket. I was buying flowers, and then ended up in a deli floor in Holland, chrysanthemum breeder, doing marketing there. A job I really liked, but it was only chrysanthemum. And then for me, it came the time I thought, okay, it needs to be broader, because flower shops and export companies, import companies, they don't only do chrysanthemum. And I want to do the whole package. I want to help people, want to inspire people, and you can't only do it with chrysanthemums, because there are more flowers. And that's when I started actually my own company, Flower Circus. Why Flower Circus? Like I said before, I want to entertain people. I want to tell people or teach people new things, but in a fun way, because going back for a course or going back to school, everybody's like, wow, I don't want to go back to school banks because I hated it then, or I liked it, but I'm too old to go back and it's no fun. That's why we started Flower Circus.
And so what is your trade? So what is Flower Circus, but how did Flower Circus start? So did you start as just a florist called Flower Circus and then develop this into, so where is the first path of Flower Circus start from?
What I noticed is that the lack of information between all the chains. Okay. And I was asking some of the growers, okay, how do you promote yourself? How do you sell yourself, not only in Holland, but further as well? Do you know who your customers are? They got no idea. That's why when I said, okay, what if I do a show in a certain country, let's say France or England, I go there, I'll promote your product directly to the wholesale, to the florists. And not only that, I will get information back from them as well. What do they like from your company? What do they don't like? Or maybe they want to see a different color, all those kind of things. And that's how it started, actually, just to get the information to the right people, the information from the grower, telling about his product. Yeah. And then the information from the florist, how they use the product, what they like. Maybe they said, okay, I like the lilies, but it has too many flower buds. I only want a few. And the grower thinks, I need the more, the better. So those kind of things. So everybody makes more money in the end. And that's what we were doing.
So you started as a promotion company, almost as a marketing company, not floral design per se, but to promote flowers of a brand through floral design.
Through floral design, yeah. And that's why we have a lot of designers. One of them is watching. I can see Max Hurto.
I was about to say, here you go.
Yeah.
Here we are. I love the beard, Max.
Yeah.
And we also have Nicole, which just did Next Gen. Awesome. She says, hey. And then Kookie is a fan of yours and mine. So Kookie, I love that picture he has of the rose on the wall. That's great. Like the banana that sold at Art Basel for $1 million. That's funny, Kookie. Hope you get $1 million for that, Kookie. So
at least
$1 million. So who is the team? Because you do a lot of content, right? From that cool stuff that I saw you doing and sitting on the the outdoor toilet.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. Your content's awesome and on point, and there has to be a great videographer there, so it's great. Who's a part of your team? Because that's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah. We've got a group of almost 10 designers now from Holland, from Belgium. Max is half Belgium, half French, so but we count him in as a Belgium guy. We've got a photographer, videographer. So that's a difficult word for me.
Videographer, yeah.
Videographer. Yeah. And also we got a social media team. We got at the moment already 4 people actually working on our social media content.
Okay.
We were just talking about the video in the toilet. Today we were filming on the beach in Holland, so there's still some sand in my head.
Wow, that is fun. All right.
So there's going to be some fun videos there that will come up soon.
Gotcha. So I stopped doing social media for companies because it was a lot of work. Are you still doing social media for companies? And how is that? Because it's a lot of work to run an agency in so much detail. And sometimes, like we were talking earlier, customers think it just happens, right? Tell us a little bit about that. You know, what's the workload look like for you? Because that's a lot of content you're creating and then doing it for customer bases.
Yeah. The good thing is that we started before COVID with it. So we made the mistakes, we paid the money for it. And when COVID hit, we were already set to go. And that's why when a lot of companies suddenly thought, okay, I need to promote myself, I can't go anywhere, I need to go for social media. I've got the knowledge about the products. We got the specialist for social media. So we've got a specialist for YouTube, for Instagram, for Facebook, and so on. They know what works. They know what works in other industries. And that combined makes that we have a great team. So we can it's not like promoting red roses for a grower and every other post is like a red rose stands for love. I mean, that's still something I see happening too much because I've got a niece who has a lot of followers on her own Instagram page, so she can do my social media. But posting for a company is totally different than just posting for friends.
And I agree 100%. And that's where services like ours come into play, because I've seen a lot of situations. I focus more on website design and SEO, email marketing and stuff like that, and branding and networking. But when you focus on that and you get a third party agency, you're having to reteach them. Now I'm helping my customers go through blogs just to read their blogs to make sure it's for the right demographic. And it's not about buy these beautiful heart roses because it'll make your wife's heart pitter patter, or think about the last time you bought someone a flower, right? So that's great. You know, I feel like we're talking shop here because it's good to talk to people that relate. But you do see the importance of hiring a company that understands the industry, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. And don't forget, there's a lot of family companies in Holland, smaller companies that did social media just on the couch, or maybe as a New Year's resolution, like, oh, we have to do social media. And that's why I still see it happening the first 2 weeks of January. When it's slow time, everybody starts again. And then they forget about it. And some were successful, but when it was busy times at the company, they also didn't have time for social media. Well, at that point, it's really important to show we've got busy times, this is happening. And that's where we come in and help them.
Consistency is king. Consistency in talking to your right target market. And I think that the industry doesn't do enough of that. Correct me if I'm wrong, John, when it comes to customer type, customer persona, customer voice and tone. What is it, right? Is that something you guys focus on? And what are your tips there?
Yeah. First of all, I think the biggest thing is show everything. Also, if you're having problems, just be open about it, because people got sick and tired of everything is perfect on social media. They don't believe it anymore. So if it's all fake, just show yourself, your real customers. If you have a flower shop, if you have real customers, they come to you for a reason. Find that reason and show that online as well. They come to you because you make funny jokes. Okay, make joke of the week, something like that. Or you know a lot about flowers. tell something about flowers every time.
Listen to your
That's
customers, right?
yeah,
That's the key.
because then you attract
Go ahead.
you attract the same customers that you already have. If you do something totally different, you will get a different client base, which you probably maybe not even like, because it's a strange people that you never got, and maybe it doesn't feel right.
And or wear a top hat, right?
Or do both.
Or do both. So, if you don't mind, I wanted to ask you. I read an article, a blog piece, and it was really touching and, man, scary. And sometimes I even think of you when I'm watching news, like, how would that have felt? And you were open to sharing, so thank you very much for being open to sharing. Tell us about your experience in Ukraine. I think many people haven't heard it from you when it came to that, and that just, I think that event really struck you, and has also given you a different perspective of life, and you have that worry because you still have family in Ukraine, and I get goosebumps right now. You still have family in Ukraine, but tell us a little bit in a short synopsis. What did you go through, and share with the audience that we're lucky to have a flower circus, So what happened at Ukraine, if you share shortly with us?
I moved to Ukraine 6 years ago, so lived there for 6 years, and then 24th of February, the war started. And we actually didn't really realize that it would happen all over Ukraine. We were thinking something in the east might happen, worst case scenario even. But then all of a sudden, it was 24th, I think 4:30 in the morning. I just woke up and checked the news, and it said Putin closed the airspace above Ukraine. And I thought, why should he do it? And I was about to leave to Holland. And I thought, well, I'm leaving anyway, but I'll probably need to go by car. Within half an hour, I got a text message from a friend who's saying the rockets were flying all over Kiev already. So I quickly jumped in my car and got my son, asked my ex-wife as well to come. She didn't want to come because her mother was in hospital, and drove back to my house in Bucha, just outside of Kiev. Grabbed some stuff, just put it in one suitcase. So we had two suitcases. My son had a suitcase, I had a suitcase, and drove off. I think it was around 6:30 when I left my house. Before I got out of town, it took us 1.5 hours. I already took some detours because everything stopped. Gas stations, there were, I think, 100 to 150 cars trying to get gas. Luckily, we got out because Bucha, Gostomel, the city next to it, that was actually where the war started, and they tried to capture the airport there, which is less than a mile from my house. So got out on time. We saw people building block posts, but we just managed to escape. Tried to drive as fast as possible. Windows actually open, so we could hear where the rockets were flying, which way they were going. So, you learn fast.
So you were hearing rockets go by, seeing rockets go by, and you have your son with you. That's insane.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. So I gave him my phone and said, "Okay, you need to text your grandparents. You need to text this person, that person, that we're on our way, and that maybe." Let's say hopefully we'll be in contact soon, and we just drove off. And at a certain point I thought, okay, if I slow down a bit I might make it to the end, to the border, because that's about 500 kilometers. So slow down a bit, texting with the Dutch embassy as well, telling where I was driving.
Oh my goodness. Because, okay. Makes sense.
Some of my employees in Kiev were also texting, and they tried to leave Kiev, I think 15 to 20 minutes after me. They couldn't because there was traffic everywhere already. We couldn't get out of the city. So after 4 hours, they decided to go back into the city and wait for the night and tried to escape. Unfortunately, that evening there was a new law that said that men couldn't leave the country anymore. So wow. Some of the girls said, "Okay, I don't want to leave my husband, so I will stay in Ukraine as well." So they went to the west.
Wow.
So I think it was around 2:00 in the afternoon. We finally were at the Polish border, Ukrainian-Polish border, and finally had some time to look what we had. 2 suitcases, nothing more. In contact with my neighbors, and already when we were at the Polish border, we got the first pictures that our supermarket was on fire, cars were shot, all those kind of things. So a roller coaster actually.
Wow. And how is your family now? How's Ukraine now doing? And I know we all watch it, but you are in Europe. You have family there. How is that going?
A lot of things are happening actually at the moment, even because Ukraine actually shot some rockets towards Crimea just a couple of hours ago. So wow. That's I don't know what's going to happen there. The city I lived is after the 1.5 months. I think we all saw the massacre and everything that happened there, but they freed the city. But in the east and in the south, it's still, and I think we haven't seen. Luckily, we haven't seen everything yet, because those stories going to be even worse than we heard from Bucha and Irpin.
Because there's not a lot of coverage in that area.
No, not at all. And there are things happening. We better not mention it today. I mean, there's not a war that goes by without any tragedy. But what's happening now, it's unbelievable, beyond imagination.
So that's really deep, and thank you for sharing. And I know that was a story you shared, and I think it really brings a equilibrium, I want to say, but almost like a wake up call for many people that hear that from a person that experienced it. So thank you for sharing.
Don't forget. Yeah, don't forget. I mean, it's not as much in the news anymore as it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's still ongoing, and it's still a lot of people, innocent people, die. It's actually we in Ukraine, we don't call it a war anymore. It's terrorist act. What's happening? Wow. Those figures are already a couple of weeks old, but Russia hit 300 military targets and over 3,000 just civilian targets. So hospitals, universities, schools, all those kind of things.
Wow, so they're intentionally targeting. Well, that's crazy. That's crazy, and it's true. You kind of don't hear more about it, and you hear other stuff like they raided Trump's place.
Yeah.
All right, here we go again. But so let me ask you a couple more questions. I feel a little weird asking you how Ukraine affected the flower industry, but we are here for flowers. So if you don't mind, how did Ukraine, the war, affect Europe with flowers? How do you see the industry over there in Europe being affected with all the embargoes and everything? How's that been for growers?
The big shock was directly because the 8th of March is the biggest flower holiday in Eastern Europe and Russia. And already a lot of trucks were on their way to Ukraine, to Russia, Belarus, and everything.
Wow.
Trucks have been sent back. Prices was unbelievably high, but they couldn't get into Ukraine anymore. So sales in Ukraine were obviously almost down to zero. Russia were not as good as expected, of course. They also didn't sell a lot. So it affected immensely. I mean, I don't know how many million tulips they threw away, but it was unbelievable. Wow. Also, local growers who had tulips, they made the Ukrainian symbol on the square in Ukraine with 1.5 million tulips, because otherwise they were just thrown away anyway. So they decided to make something nice out of it. And then that's why I actually also did the show for Ukraine, which will.
That's what I was about to
go
ask
good.
you about
Yeah,
that show. So that was one of the questions we went through. So
yeah,
tell us about the show for Ukraine. How did that go? What was the basis of it?
yeah,
What happened?
yeah. I started, of course, with the interviews as well.
Okay.
At the start of COVID, and then I thought, okay, we're doing a lot of shows all over the world. We can't travel anymore. What should we do? Why don't we try a online show as well? Let's see if it works. And that's
Yes,
something we,
the shows. Uh-huh.
yeah. So that's something we do every first Friday of the month. And actually, I just came back or got out of Ukraine, and I said, okay, the first show in March has to be a show especially for Ukraine, for the women of Ukraine, and also try to raise money for Ukraine as well. So that's why we did that show, and we made bouquets in the Ukrainian colors, talked about it, talked about my experiences as well. And luckily we raised a lot of money to help the people of Ukraine. And
Congratulations.
yeah, so it was tough to do the show.
Okay.
But I really wanted to do it. I felt obliged to do something. And especially when you have a worldwide audience with the shows we do online, I thought this is the way to do it.
Man, it's a lot of pressure on you when you do fundraisers, huh? And when you do shows, it's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, fundraiser is one thing, but when you are emotionally involved, it makes it that makes it a bit harder.
Much harder, I imagine.
Yeah.
I imagine, but it's a good thing that you did, and congratulations. I completely relate. I've done some fundraisers as well, and it's emotional because you're very responsible for the funds. You're very responsible for it. You have to speak, So I give you a lot of credit. I always take out my hat, not a top hat, but my hat.
Yeah,
It
was actually fun. The girls working for me and closely for those shows, they said, you have to ask more for people to like and subscribe and all those kind of things.
Yes.
I always forget, or I feel like I'm begging for people to like and subscribe.
And they think you're begging too, and that's why usually I beg anyway. So I just beg.
Yeah. But
so,
that show, I was really like, okay, now I've got a reason to beg, and let's do it. And,
let's do it. It's funny. You're like, please make sure to subscribe, like, and follow.
Yeah.
But you are, when you have a purpose. We have here, hopefully, Kookie says, hopefully, guys, willing to share the 1 million. Everybody saw this now. Please take a picture. Kookie,
yeah.
I will hold you. And then Ricardo, thank you so much, giving me a shout out. Saying that the interviews are always great. So thank you, Ricardo. And then let me ask you one, as I mentioned in the beginning, you have been an inspiration to many of us to start the shows, right? You started, I was more like on Instagram. You were more on YouTube. You started a couple weeks or months before me. And then I remember calling you and going, hey, I just started one. Want to jump in? And you're like, let's do it. And then you called me one day, hey, I lost a guest. You want to, let's do it. So we've always been very supportive of each other. And again, I always appreciate the people that came before. I never, I don't think of them as competitors. I think of them as just influence and inspiration, and let's work together. So tell us about the show when you first started the Flower Circus. How did it happen? Who was your first guest? Why did it happen? You woke up the next day and we're doing a show. Tell us the adventures of the Flower Circus show.
Yeah, I mean, COVID struck. I had flowers on the way to one of the shows, one of the many shows we had planned for that springtime. And I was like, okay, we had to cancel the show actually one day before the show in Germany. Said, okay, this is not going to work anymore. And then all of a sudden, your agenda is empty because you don't have any shows anymore.
Yeah.
While you were flying 2-3 times a month, I was like, okay, now I have to sit at home. What am I going to do? But then, I mean, everybody was in panic in Europe, obviously, and was like calling, what do you know? What do you know? And because I was traveling a lot for Flower Circus, but also for the previous jobs, I had flower friends all over the world. But they were calling me, and then I called one back and the other one, and I was like, okay, maybe we can do this in a different way and just call somebody and just do an interview so everybody can see it. And luckily, I saw somebody starting to do this as well from a totally different industry. So I directly gave him a call. Okay, what are you using? How are you doing this? He said, it's quite simple. I said, okay, let's try. And at that time, there was that the auction crash was there in Holland. So almost all flowers were thrown away. And I thought, okay, we need a positive message as well. So that's why I called one of my clients, a chrysanthemum grower. And I said, okay, what are you going to change? What are your thoughts? And so we started talking, and he said, okay, this is what's happening at the moment. And the only thing I said, I don't want to see, or I don't want you to show that you're throwing away flowers, because I want to get some kind of a positive message, because we need to get through this. So we started in Holland, but soon already, I think at the end of the week, I was calling somebody in China. And that really already gave a bit of a relief, because he said, okay, we're 9 weeks into this COVID and the flower market opened again. And that made some people decide in Holland, okay, we're going to continue planting our chrysanthemums or lysianthus or whatsoever, because maybe in 9-10 weeks, we're out of this as well. And I think after a couple of weeks, then the States also came with COVID, and it was like, okay, now we've got it as well. So it was really like telling people, okay, this is happening and this is what we're doing. And because a lot of new businesses came up as well, a lot of new florists started. I mean, they started from home, from their kitchen.
Kitchen Kellys.
The kitchen Kellys. So a lot of things were happening, and I was really excited as well. I mean, the internet sales in the US are already quite high, much higher than they are in Europe. But in Europe, they were skyrocketing. I mean, so new companies opening up, and I wanted to tell those stories as well, and encourage small florists as well. Open your own web shop. Make sure you promote yourself, because even if the doors are closed, you can do deliveries and all those kind of things. And that worldwide. So that's why I started it. And I think we did over 125 shows, something like that.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm pretty sure you did, because I was pretty close and I was behind you. And I think you remember you would join all my shows as well every day that I would do it for Berkeley's, and I was doing it every day, and it's a lot of work, man.
It's really a lot of work. And that's why at a certain stage I said, okay, I'm going to go back to once a week, because a lot of people went back to work. In the beginning, everybody was sitting at home, and there was just a few people. I mean, you were there, I was there, and people had 10 hours a day that they normally worked in the flower industry, and they were sitting at home.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And with one of the wholesalers, Berkeley's, we went from 1,200 followers to 8,000 during that span of time, because it was content. A lot of people, you had a lot of eyeballs. So now it's less eyeballs, a lot more people doing the shows. Where is the Flower Circus headed?
To be honest, I lost a little bit of interest, and I saw the audience were losing interest as well. So we're getting on some new ideas. We're still doing the monthly shows because they are performing really well. And I think it's really cool to have both the online shows and traveling again to other people or to other countries, which makes it really cool. So that's something we continue doing. And I think within a month, we will have something new coming out of the hat again.
Cool.
Because I think we need to do something new. We need to evolve.
I like that. I like that coming out of the hat. Something coming out of the hat again. And here's David Kaplan. He has to give us a hard time. Check this out. Hi, I've seen John on many shows. He's never taken his hat off. Is there any hair under that? I know Sahid has none. So
David, I even have less.
He even has less than I do. But there you go. Here, I'll show you.
You got the flower around it.
And then Mike says, John and Sahid, you've done an amazing job. Keep it up. And we got to give a shout out to Mike. He's a big fan of yours and mine, and big fan of many people. You have to watch Two Fat Guys Talking Flowers. They're awesome. I know they also did something at Next Gen. Check them out. Get an insight of Next Gen. So we can't say anything but good things about Mike and all the support he's shown startups and entrepreneurs and different thinkers like us. So it's been a cool experience to work with Mike. And then David Kaplan says that's for sure. I'm not sure what it is, and don't let him make fun of your hair or my hair, because he has a lot less hair than both of us, but he has hair growing here versus here. And then I wanted to show you my support real quick from something that I got from you from a long time ago.
Oh, great.
So John gives these out at the shows. And he gives them out to everybody that walks by and asks people to take a picture with them. So I still have mine from Flower Expo. So thank you, John, for giving me your nose. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I wear it well.
Yeah, really well.
So I thought I would do that. Also, we have just some final questions. I call them the fun questions. One, what is your favorite magic trick?
My favorite magic trick, I think, is with the elephant. I think you've seen it.
Yes. So just to give you a little behind the scenes, John does a flower show, and it's a flower almost design show, but he adds a lot of interactive media, you could say, where one of them is a big old elephant trunk throwing peanuts that comes from the back of the scene, and just, so it's very exciting, entertaining, and a lot of good energy and fun. So the elephant's a good one. One. And all right, so these are fast questions. Dog, cat, or plant?
Dog.
Most interesting job you've ever had?
Circus director.
What is it?
The circus director.
Okay. Got it. Tell us something interesting about you that the flower community does not know.
Oh, so that's a difficult one. I've got no idea.
Something about you, a fun fact, something creative, a hobby, something.
That I'm bald.
All right, there you go. Marco Groot the other day said, "I'm wearing shorts," and he stood up. He had a suit on and he had shorts underneath. I thought that was just classic. What's your favorite song?
But that's typical Dutch. I'm wearing shorts as well.
Oh, you are. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song. That's a Ukrainian song at the moment.
All right. And
because it has so much
what's
feeling.
What's the name of it?
I can't translate it, but it's
say it in the language.
I don't have a house anymore.
Gotcha. That's the name of it. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Wow. And what's your favorite flower?
My favorite flower depends on the season.
Okay. Favorite food?
Favorite food is spaghetti carbonara.
And least favorite food? That's a new one I'm throwing in there.
Beans.
You can't stand beans. I grew up in Miami, so beans are a thing. Let me take a couple last questions here. Quality shows are very important for all perspectives of the flower industry, David Kaplan saying, and it's very important to have different shows as well, because different perspectives come along as well. And then great show and guest, very inspirational. My best to all your family in Ukraine. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda.
And then it's Bermuda. It's from Bermuda, the short things. Yeah, they are called Bermudas. You just aged yourself, Dave, because I haven't heard that word Bermudas in a very long time, but Dave just aged himself. So John, a million thanks, man. A million thanks for always being supportive of me when I was doing Berkeley Floral Supply shows. I always remember you tuning in and saying, "Great job. I love what you're doing." And that's always been, everybody does it. And I assume you go through the same thing. When someone says, "I'm watching your show and I've learned so much."
Yeah.
Right. Explain that feeling, because I can't, I feel it sometimes when I don't get to talk to people, and that keeps us going. Right.
It's really cool. I mean, I was for the first time in Miami on the show, and then people came to me and they said, "Oh, I've seen your shows and I learned things." And even now people are saying it. I mean, maybe they didn't directly react during the show, but hearing it afterwards, I mean, that really gives so much energy, actually.
It does. And it makes all the hard work a little worth it when you hear it.
Yeah. because people, what you don't know, there's so much preparation behind it. Sahid and his team as well. They're inviting guests, talking to guests, make sure that they got the right connection, and so on and so on. So it's not only the 40 minutes or 45 minutes that he's online. I mean, triple or quadruple the time just for the preparation of a show.
But again, guys, you know, the audience, like Mike saying, very motivating. All this keeps us going. It keeps my team going. It keeps John going, the team going. So it's always truly appreciated, because sometimes, like everybody, you have doubt. Like, should I keep this thing going? You know, but when you get someone that pulls you aside, that's a florist in the middle of nowhere, and says, man, I get all my awesome information from you. You're like, okay, man, this is worth it. Just that one person gives you another couple shows. You know?
Yeah.
Get that energy going for a couple of shows. But John, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for opening up and sharing your stories, man. And you know, we're always here as New Bloom Above All Flowers, here to help you in any which way. We consider you a peer and a flower industry partner. So thank you for everything you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for your kind words, and thank you for inviting me. It's been a real honor. And of course, thank you everybody for watching as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much, John. I'm going to put you in the Bloom room if you want to hang out. Yeah. I'm going to say my goodbyes, but thank you so much, John.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. So John, always a great show, even his shows on my show. So it's a long time overdue to have John on the show. So truly, again, thank you, John. Thank you for all the guests for joining us, for tuning in. I do want to mention, again, Cal Flowers Fun in the Sun is going to be awesome. Willie Armelini and the Bloom Show, we're getting together. We're doing 3 flower couches throughout the whole entire event, at the party, on the sand. It is going to be a late night show. Do stay after. I'm going to post right after, before I kind of knock off the show, the schedule. We have the schedule on LinkedIn. We have the schedule on Instagram. It's going to be an awesome show sponsored by Floral Trade Distributors, Armelini as well, and Cal Flowers. And we're having some great competitors come on to talk about the industry in their sector together as a unified message. And we're having a few growers that are competitors. We're having Jeannie Boast for San Francisco Flower Market to talk about that flower feeling, to give us some more information. We're having even Jay, the man Schwanke, with his partner on the show as well. And then even after that, because we're doing 1-hour episodes, even after that, we're going to have jumping calls where we'll be bringing people in just randomly, just to talk and chit chat. So that's going to be August 29th, 8 to 9 p.m., 9:20 Pacific Standard Time. So you can imagine it's almost 12 o'clock Eastern Standard, I believe. And then we're going to have a show August 30th at 12:15 Pacific Standard Time to 12:45. And then August 30th from 8 to 9 o'clock as well. So please make sure to tune in. Make sure to chime in and ask questions. And it's really, the more fun and the more interactive you get, the more fun we have and the guests enjoy. So again, the Bloom Show is made to help the flower industry innovate, connect, and bloom. And thank you so much for your support, joining us and watching. It is truly appreciated. And let me get this ready to go. Thank you very much for everything. Enjoy and see you next time.